What's up and welcome to this week's episode of How Not to Summon a Podcast. I'm Sheeny Senpai and this week I'm joined by the caretakers of the podcast, Jim and Gracie.
He got around the intro.
You son of a bitch. Too serious for a funny one.
And this week we are doing the serious movie, Josee, the Tiger and the Fish.
Someone told me hope on your day, a voice from my dream. It spoke of tomorrow and led me to see.
The genre of this, it's a romance.
What?
That's my cat, Honey.
Fuck off!
You beautiful boy.
So, yeah, any upgrade on a romance? It's a romance.
It's a romance.
It's a straight up romance.
There's nothing else going on.
In the sense of, like, you know your normal romance movies where you're like, start to finish, you're like, I know where it's going, even though it's a romance. I know where this is going to go. This is what this is, isn't it? Like,
Yes, it is.
it's one of those romance films where you're like, I know what's going to happen.
There
course.
was a couple
Yeah.
of surprises along the way.
Was
but
there?
not-
Was there?
Yeah,
Really?
the grandma was like, what? But anyway,
she was old.
we will get to... was she? Apparently, because they told us
Yeah,
afterwards.
they said
But
she's
anyway,
old. She died.
And she
She was
got-
also
Anyway.
perverted, grabbing dick left, right, and centre. Let's not fucking
Hey,
forget about it.
Fair.
Grab his dick and twist
Grandma ain't had dick in a while. Let her cop the feel, all right?
it. Dude, this is MMA.
Anyway, directed by Kotaro Tamura. This is like his first piece of work, really. The studio was Studio Bones, who is known for doing Full Metal Alchemist and Space Dandy.
Hey.
Same studio, right? Weird.
Hey.
Weird.
Yeah, and he hates
Kicking
one.
nothing but bangers out.
We'll get to voice.
Oh, what a shift.
Shift of opinion all of a sudden. Voice actors. Suneo is voiced by Howard Wang. Couldn't find
Good
much.
job, Mr. Wang. Well done.
Couldn't find much on him.
Thoroughly enjoyed Wang's
He's
work.
a solid member.
And Susie Young. Susie Young was the voice of Josee, and she's best known for being Makame in Chainsaw Man, so the red-headed
Oh,
woman,
shit, yeah.
and Yuri in High Rise Invasion, so the main female character in that. And I only put that in there because we've done High Rise Invasion, so we know the character.
I didn't really like her voice acting in this. I'll be very honest with
In
you.
this?
It was very hit and miss. There were certain areas where I was just like, that was probably the wrong call.
Okay.
To be fair, probably not down to her. Probably whoever's directing the voice acting
direction.
made that
Okay, yeah.
decision.
On the style,
Yeah, on the
way she
style. Yeah,
expressed.
like when she
Yeah.
screams crawling into the ocean, you're just like, you won't do that. That's not natural. It doesn't feel like the natural way that she would express herself.
Yeah, that makes
Then,
sense.
because
Yeah.
she was talking really calmly, and then all of a sudden her voice just elevates to
Yeah,
shouting, and then
no,
goes back down
I
again.
get
And
that.
you're just like, don't do that.
So, lastly, ratings. I've got Rotten Tomatoes, critics, audience, and IMDb.
Right, let's go with IMDb.
IMDb out of 10.
9.1.
I'm going to go with an 8.9.
So, IMDb gave this a 7.6 out
Oh,
of 10.
fair enough. I was shooting high here.
And Rotten
was I.
Tomatoes audience score?
Audience
Audience.
81, critics 71.
85 for the audience. And I'm going to go for 78.
You guys are shooting low ball. So, this got a critic score of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It didn't deserve that.
And it got an audience score of 97%.
Didn't deserve that either.
Can't really argue with both sets of
I can.
panels, I'm
I
afraid.
can. I can.
All right, Mr. Subject to Opinion.
Now he's on that side of the fence. This
you know,
week.
let's bring
it's
out
not
that-
kill to kill this
let's
week.
bring out
is
that-
it?
You are
standard
welcome.
argument.
You are welcome to your opinion.
But
Sometimes your opinion
my
is wrong.
rebuttal, because I've thought about this for a while,
Go on.
because I've stewed on it.
Yeah,
since-
go on.
Shut up. Are you hearing this? He spent ages.
No. I would like to know his
No,
opinion.
Please listen, right? That is the argument you can make for every single fucking episode.
Yeah,
It is the base argument. This show is about our opinions.
Yeah. It
Yes.
is.
So when I give it and you come back with a base rebuttal of that's subject to opinion, that is
It
the
is
argument
subject to
you can
opinion.
say to every single rating we give ever.
That's the point.
Yes, but
Every
whenever I
rating
try
does.
to make my
We're not the
opinions-
official governing body of ratings.
Yes, but when
we're
I try to
three
give
lads sat
mine-
in a fucking tiny box room
When I
giving
tried
an
to give
opinion.
mine- when I tried to give mine, you rebutted with the bog standard response.
Mr.
And not
IMDb.
your own
No.
opinionated
No,
response.
you were saying with a definitive.
No, it was my
Fact.
opinion. My opinion was
You
a good
were
show
not.
makes
You
X.
were saying
and you were like,
with a
no, that's
definitive
subject
fact,
to opinion.
You were saying definitively something was bad or something was good. You don't get to make a definitive decision.
When
You
did I
get to
say-
make
no,
an
no.
objective opinion.
I said,
I
I
did the
think,
editing.
I think this is a bad show.
No, you
That
went,
were
"This
my
is a bad
words.
show."
You went, this is a bad show.
Based on my opinion.
But you didn't express it as your
Didn't say
opinion. You
that.
expressed it as a fact.
No, I didn't express it as a fact. I didn't say this is a fact, did I? I didn't.
Lee Joe, roll the clip
I
back.
didn't say it. I didn't say
I
it.
will
Anyway,
roll the
anyway,
clip. I
Act one.
edited it
I didn't
last
say
week.
it. I didn't say this is a fact that this is bad.
I'm going to need a VAR check on that one.
Anyway, Act 1 of Josee the Lion and the Fish.
I love the fact that we've come in with such anger for such a mellow movie.
So it opens with the scene of scuba divers out in the ocean, going around the sort of coral reefs of, I guess, Tokyo. It's not Tokyo, is it? It's where are they? I don't actually know exactly where they
I
are.
honestly
but-
couldn't tell you. There were no real landmarks that
No.
I recognised. Even in her painting, she drew like the Eiffel Tower and stuff in them. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Could've
don't
been
know
anywhere.
where you are.
I'm not 100% sure where they
could've
were,
been
but
anywhere
Is
in
it
obviously
Japan.
supposed to
somewhere
be
tropical.
an unknown city?
Is it supposed to be Okinawa?
To
Somewhere in the
accommodate for a
south,
lot.
Southern Island or something?
It
Or-
can't be Okinawa.
I
They
don't
don't
know.
have a massive blooming city on Okinawa. I don't
There'll be
think.
so you can't name a city because there'll be some fish nerd going. That
Actually,
fish
I'll find that
doesn't
fish.
occupy those
It's somewhere,
waters.
I don't know. Anyway, we meet our main protagonist, Sunio.
Kirito.
And I put, like, how you would say it on my notes.
Did you put phonetics?
Yes. Because I was like, I'm going to mess up. So if I put his
How's it
phonetics...
spelled?
T-S-U-N-E-O.
T-S-U-N-E-O.
Sunio. But I just put S-U-N-E.
Sunio.
Yeah. Suneo.
Okay, so he's put the phonetics up there. I dig this. This is evolution in
Thank
work.
you.
This.
And this is just to help me because I fucked up so much with names like a few weeks ago.
I got it.
What?
I did the old Google
Okay.
search. It's based in Osaka.
Thought Osaka was fairly central in Japan. It is in Osaka because they do mention the Dotonbori man. So
I don't know.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, we see Suneo living his
Best
life. He's working at a diving. It's not his best life, is it? But he has that free time to go diving and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So he's
and
doing
he's
what he
drinking
loves.
every evening. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, this
Is
dude's
he?
yeah.
I don't see him drinking.
He goes out.
He goes out
his
like
work
most
colleagues, I
evening with
think.
his workmates, and he's downing a fucking beer while they're
Is he?
eating.
And we get the
Living his
introduction.
best
They
life,
put they put a lot of effort into the animation of that beer with the froth coming down and everything. Moist.
Speaking of his workmates, we also get the introduction to Mai, who is his work colleague, and Hayato, his work colleague as well.
I liked
and friend.
Hayato.
I liked
I
Hayato.
felt Mai was a little flat,
She was crucial to the story.
Yes,
That's
she
what her
was.
purpose was.
but the other guy
I
came
like they
across
didn't-
really well.
Yeah.
Not as a
no,
good
he came across
person.
brilliant.
Not as a good
Hayato.
person or anything, but just as a character, he was fantastic,
he's
full
brilliant.
of life, filled the screen,
Yeah.
brilliant. I felt a little two-dimensional on the
She
screen.
was just a necessity for the
yeah,
plot.
and
She
it felt
was-
that way.
She was developed not to be a standout character.
I think
because she had a certain thing that she.
She
Yeah, I
had
think
one
you're right,
crucial
yeah.
moment in that whole film, and that's when she confronted Josie at the door,
I-
and that's it.
Probably a decision then to make her less, so you don't want. I'm going to use a millennial term, so you don't ship these two characters.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
What they
So,
wanted
yeah.
was to show that she was interested in him,
Yes.
but not enough that you got interested in her being.
Yeah,
the
that was the point. We don't.
Yeah.
They didn't want you to buy into Mai.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and,
that-
it worked.
And it worked. Yeah.
It worked.
We see Hayato, not Hayato, Suneo,
Karita.
walking
Karibo.
home, and
Karibo.
suddenly,
1,000 life points for you.
suddenly, there's a runaway wheelchair hurtling towards him, and we meet Josee, who crashes into
These
Suneo.
soapbox car racing has got a bit fucking dramatic, hasn't it?
So,
Let anyone in.
Have you seen one of those boxcar races?
fucking
They're
brilliant.
Brilliant, right?
I follow him on
We should
TikTok.
do it. We should do
The
it.
Red Bull one
Maybe we should set up
with
one
all the
for us.
ramps and everything. There was
Yeah.
a Batmobile on there, and when they got to the end, they let a fucking parachute out to slow it down
Maybe we should do one.
of a little mini Batmobile.
Get ourselves like a boxcar. The Summoning Boys boxcar.
So she crashes into him, and he catches her. He places his hand on her back to sort of support her, and she doesn't like that. So she bites him and calls him a pervert for touching her. After he's just saved her from careening face first into the ground.
Dickhead. She's a dickhead.
The grandmother comes
she
along.
is, right?
She's a dickhead.
When I saw this, I was like, wow.
Antisocial,
Really?
bitter character.
Up until her reading the book,
Yep.
I went, "You're a cock."
Yep.
Every
Yeah,
moment
because
you
she
have
has-
on screen, you're a cock. And even when it's unnecessarily
But she's
so,
been faced
you're being a
with
cock.
discrimination constantly whenever she leaves the house, and that's why she hates everybody.
As
it makes
a
sense.
non-white person, I have faced the same.
Oh, fuck.
Apparently Italians are non-white now.
Everybody
Do I
who's
get to play
white
that
is as
card?
white as they
Do
come.
I get to play? I've got olive skin, thank you.
We're literally sitting in the
No,
dark.
that's called a drunken glow.
Yeah, we're literally sitting in
That's
the
the
dark.
yeast effect.
He's more yellow than anything else. I don't know what you're on
His
about.
face is as red as it comes, to be honest.
He ends up walking the same way home that Josee and her grandmother walk. And he's eventually invited into the house by the grandmother because obviously he saved Josee from careening into the floor, so it's the least she could do.
I've seen weirder episodes on Pornhub.
Not all we see when he goes in is Josie's very, again, antisocial, doesn't want to mingle with him. She shuffles off and shuts herself into her
Can't say.
She does shuffle off. She does.
She does her
can't
best
walk
impression
off.
of a snail.
She doesn't walk off. She shuffles off and shuts herself in her bedroom.
All I got was the auditory for that. Is she scraping?
It's what happens. I can't. I'm trying to give a visual effect to exactly what's going on here.
She walks off. Well, hold on.
No, she shuffles off.
This mortal coil.
Eventually, we see. It cuts to us seeing Suneo working really hard. He's offered another job just as he's about to leave the house. And, I mean, we all guessed what the job was. We didn't have to hear it, but clearly the grandmother was going to ask for him to look after her so the grandmother can have some peace of mind and actually some time to go and play pachinko.
I didn't, because I thought she might have been
I thought she was going to go and give someone a 5-finger shuffle.
I
Did you
thought
not-
she was going to
did you
say
not see the,
housekeeper.
Yeah, she's going to play pachinko.
Yeah, that's what the fuck that
Gambling.
means. That's pretty much the motion she made was wanking.
We find out that Suneo wants to go and study abroad in Mexico as soon as he's finished his college. And to do so, he needs to save up all this money, so he's accepted this job to care for Josee. He gets there for his first day. We meet the cat. It's a good character.
I like the cat. I like the cat.
It's a stray that they just look after.
I can relate to this cat. Yeah, there's one out there that just got
Suddenly-
turned up one day.
We do then jump a month ahead very quickly, and it sort of gives you a little bit of a flash of him just being given real shit tasks by Josee.
Menial, nonsensical
Tasks,
challenges, yeah.
Really, all he's there is just to make sure Josie's okay and doesn't get into trouble. While grandmother naps, plays pachinko, goes shopping.
I honestly
thought he was being hired to look after the house so they could go
No,
out.
it's look after Josee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone else get the impression that this girl was fucking 12?
Josee?
Younger.
Yeah.
I thought she was like 10.
Yeah, but
When it,
the
the size of the
protagonist
character,
is surprised. Yeah, but don't forget.
Yeah, I know.
I guess
the development's not there because
Development,
the muscle mass and everything
Yeah.
was different, I know. And you never see her stood up, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But from what we do see of her, she looks like she's like
And I guess
preteen,
would
and
you-
he's a babysitter. And I was like, if this is going where it's going, this is pretty weird.
Yeah, but would you not think that development-wise as well, mentally, she wouldn't be more adult? Because she
Yeah.
never leaves the house.
She wouldn't have the
only has-
social skills developed,
So therefore she would come across younger. And even to the protagonist, that's a surprise that she's older.
She's the same age as the librarian, except the librarian was hotter.
Kano? Yeah, Kano. Suneo then goes to see his professor one day and finds out that through all his hard work, the professor's managed to find him a placement in Mexico. So basically his dream position that he wanted to go and study. I thought he was asleep for a
I
second.
thought he was. Is he watching football? He is watching football. Who's playing?
Arsenal. And they've got
Who
to be
are they playing?
Fulham.
Come on, Fulham.
Yeah,
You bet, Fulham.
I am being part of the blooming thing.
He's
Don't
not.
get me wrong.
We then
It's not.
see Josee. All of a sudden, well, we see Osaka fill with water, and Josee turning into a mermaid and like swimming through Osaka.
It looked good.
It did. It's just a representation of her dream.
I will say the animation of this is close to brilliant, but doesn't quite get there.
No, but it's
Yeah.
very
close.
good.
They make some really good choices with probably what was a limited budget. They put it all in the right places.
I'll say it now,
close.
the crying scenes and stuff like that were well voice
So good.
acted and
good.
visually good as well.
And the paintings and everything looks brilliant.
Yeah,
Absolutely
'Cause they
brilliant.
didn't overdo them either.
Yeah, they look really like basic and nice, and it was a different art style. It seemed like a real painting, which was nice. It looked good.
We learned that her grandmother won't allow her to leave the house because of the social society outside. So in Japan, I guess we're set to get this impression that perhaps disabled people are looked down upon.
Burdens on society.
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
impression
more of a
I got
burden,
from
yeah.
this. Just the way that
They're
man
in the way
spoke
of
to
the
her
working
and-
man.
Yeah, the way that
sort
that
of
man
thing.
spoke to her, which wouldn't happen in the Western world.
No, and also when she careened into him when they met, we learned from the grandmother that somebody actually pushed her.
Yeah.
Who the fuck pushed somebody in a wheelchair down a fucking hill?
That's Dave.
We don't talk about Dave. Oh, Pushy Dave.
Dave is a racist.
Pushy
Pushy
Dave.
Dave is a racist.
He is, yeah. And that's the least of Pushy Dave's problems.
Oh, it would have been better if he'd been called Paul.
He hates
to be
those
honest.
people with wheels.
Suneo, learning about his placement and everything like that, eventually decides that he's going to go and quit his job. He doesn't need to work with Josee. And to be quite honest, he gets on his nerves and he's done with it.
Fair play.
So he turns up the house, he knocks on her door, says he quits through the door, realises there's no answer, so he goes in. He enters her bedroom, and this is when he sees the nautical theme that she has. So Josee loves the ocean.
6-year-old
fish.
boy that she is.
She loves everything.
She's right, actually. I remember my room had something like
Yeah, you
nautical
had
Well, it's
that.
filled
Did
with
you have
her
the banner
artwork,
around the
isn't it?
walls in
Yeah.
the middle with the
Oh,
fucking
yeah, but-
anchors and
yeah,
the
but
little
that
fucking
was the
steering
90s,
wheels?
wasn't it?
It was fucking cool as shit. That was the style to have.
I bet.
It was either your football team or insert blank
Arsenal.
football colours here.
Yeah, it was
And it was
Arsenal.
usually footballs with a colour. And
Yeah,
you're
that
like,
was
it's
all-
Arsenal.
footballs.
No, it's
like,
just
yeah.
a red football. Calm your tits.
So she loves everything that he loves. The man's obsessed with the ocean, and clearly she is as well. And she paints and draws.
I can't help but notice, Grayson, that Sheeny stayed out of that conversation completely. Roman baths for him. Full on Grecian
Oh,
villas.
you had an ocean-themed room. I had a boat. Papa's yacht was wonderful.
Nautical as they come. Josee is
Canvas shoes, the lot of us.
canvas boat shoes. Josee, we find out the grandmother comes rushing in, and we find out that Josee has gone missing. Eventually, she's found
Good.
by Suneo as she attempts to lift a guardrail to a train line and quickly try and whip across before the train comes.
I thought she was going to kill herself.
He drags. No, she's just heading to the ocean.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, look, it looked like it. Because
it did look-
She only goes
It did look
to
like it.
run under the barrier when she sees him coming, and she's
She-
like, "Oh
mate,
shit, I've got to
mate.
get away from him."
She didn't run under the barrier. I'll fucking tell you right now.
Alright. There was some difficulty.
She
glided.
fucking mamboed under that barrier.
She glided under the barrier.
Before he
Hello.
takes her home,
Can you go?
Josee turns around to him and says, "Take me to the. Can I go and see the ocean? I want to see the ocean before you take me home." And she mentions
1-0.
She mentions very briefly a comment that she says is when he asks her about why she doesn't go outside. She says to him that there are tigers everywhere. And she says this after the man in the train station bumps into
I
her.
didn't like the use of I would have preferred a more...
Snakes.
Yeah, I would have preferred an animal that would have
It's-
been seen as like a
it's-
snake or
it's
something.
because she-
unnecessarily bad.
She's afraid of tigers. So then naturally she then associates the people around her as tigers because that's what she's scared of.
Yeah, but they could have chosen anything. It just the tiger was just a poor choice.
Do you think it's
writing
I think
wise?
it's just that personal choice for that character. Like anyone can make
But
an
you could-
association of what they're
They
scared of.
can,
I
yeah.
guess,
I would
can't
have
they?
just preferred an animal that is more
Slippery. Like,
I mean, I would look at a tiger and go,
aggressive.
"That's beautiful and majestic."
exactly.
Like,
I would have
and
preferred an animal.
strong.
Yeah, I would have
Like-
preferred an animal that was more universally hated
Yeah.
or seen as dangerous.
Well, you could go like there's spiders.
Right, yeah,
everywhere,
the
like-
spiders everywhere,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
just something.
I
like
get
that.
it.
the spider and the fish would have been even better. It would have. better than the tiger and the fish for a title. The spider and the fish, or the snake and the fish would be fine.
Yeah.
The tiger and the fish, or
The shark and the fish. The sharks everywhere.
No, we're not having sharks because she loves the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even
they-
the ocean has
they-
dangerous things in it.
they-
Wouldn't that be more
The
fitting? to
stingray and the
nautical
fish.
Yeah, they're just cunts, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They don't even eat you. They just sting you and
for
fuck
no
off.
reason.
They shoot their tails.
What?
Me too.
Stingray. They shoot their
Yeah,
tails. off.
you've got the tail. That's the difference.
I met a bloke that did that once.
I dropped his tail and ran.
The two of them make their way to the ocean, and there's a nice scene on the train where she's sort of looking out the window and she's fascinated by everything she sees, and he can see it in her eyes, and he's like, "Is this your first time on a train?" And she's like, No, I've been on trains before," but clearly she hasn't, and she's just taking in the world.
The thing that I did like is that she's reflective of her grandmother's feelings as well. That a grandmother doesn't want her going out of the house, does she?
No.
Doesn't want her going out of the house because she's saying, "Oh, it's a scary world out there."
Yeah.
But that changes later, and it seems like the grandma's happy.
I think
I think she
because
puts a lot
wanted-
of trust in him.
Yeah, the grandmother wanted her to experience the outside world, but she needed somebody to be there with her.
Yeah, I think
And
that...
I guess the grandmother knew that she was waning and becoming weaker and was worried about
See,
her.
I thought it was like she was trying to use bloody reverse psychology on her.
No.
Because
No,
she looked
I-
really
No,
happy.
the grandmother
think-
was genuinely worried
I
about
think
it.
later there
Well,
was
no,
an
but-
element of that. I definitely think later when she says, you know, when they sneak out because she naps from 12 till 3,
Yeah.
and then the grandma's like, I know, I just don't tell them. And I think it's because it feels like they're being a bit naughty
Yeah.
that it
Living.
makes it more
Living.
fun.
But
Yeah, it makes it more
enjoying
fun
life.
for them, so
Yeah.
she's just like,
Gone with
I'll
it.
just go along with it.
Yeah.
The bit that made me think that she was using reverse psychology on her and saying, "Oh, it's a scary world out there," was her last ever reference to her grandmother, where she turned round to her and said, "It's not that scary out there.
Yes.
I'm not scared of what's out in the world anymore,
Because
Grandma."
that proved to the grandmother that she's got the confidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll come to it because you've just jumped so far ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
They arrive at the ocean, and she goes to go to the ocean, and obviously she gets stuck in the sand, like you would in a wheelchair. She throws herself from the wheelchair and begins crawling towards the ocean.
And then gets her
our
first mouthful of saltiness.
protagonist fairly is like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because she fucking would. And she then starts talking about the fact that one of the last conversations she ever had with her father before he passed away was he asked her how
What does
she
the ocean
thought the
taste
ocean, the ocean tasted like. And she never, because she never saw it, she never got to find the answer. So she went to find the answer. Suneo scoops her up and carries her into the water. This is a fantastic moment in it, especially very early on as well, when they're in the ocean together and he's carried her in, and she's just
The ocean gives her a facial.
she's having fun.
2-0. Mm-hmm. Just so you all know.
Should have been 3.
They arrive back at the house, and this is when the grandmother goes up to Suneo, grabs him by the dick, and twists it, and says, "I told you to come back home, not come back in the evening."
That was a weird twist. It was, right?
It was very aggressive from
That
Grandma.
was very aggressive from Grandma, but she knew where it was. She knew where she was.
She
anyway.
knows. She knows.
She knows her
She,
way
know-
around.
she knows what's up.
He, it's next when they have that conversation about the fact that the reason why he took her there was because he loves the ocean and he wanted to share that moment with her. And this is when she's like, "Oh, there's so much I want to do," and he says, "Then let's do it. I'll take you everywhere." And that's when they begin sneaking out during Grandma's nap time, and it's not really a musical interlude or anything. But
No.
you just get those moments that they're sharing together,
Which
don't
is a
you, with,
shame,
like,
because it really could have done with
is
some
it, I
really
guess there's music,
fitting,
but
nice...
it didn't feel like a normal musical interlude.
It just... I think the music was just forgettable in this moment.
That bit was, yeah.
Which is a shame, because the things that they're doing look really nice on the screen.
But my guess
that
is
it would have been complemented
bad,
by...
though.
No. It made it... It fit the mood and everything. I would have just preferred something a bit more memorable, like we've had in the past from these types of
Yeah.
scenes.
It felt like it needed that sort of song, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see her, like, he makes her a skateboard. like from Trading Places.
Yeah, out of a Hoover.
It really was, wasn't it?
It's a Hoover, yeah.
He takes her to the arts and crafts store so she can buy more paints. They go and ride a
not
Ferris
beer can,
wheel together. They go to the movies, to the park, to the aquarium, and that's when he sort of starts going on about all these facts about the fish and everything like that. Then the mood is like crushed when we see the grandmother talking to a like consultant in a cafe, and he turns around and he says, "You need to stop keeping Josee inside the house. She needs to go and get a job. She needs to go and learn how to be independent."
Because you are not.
I mean, he's spitting facts. This guy, right? I mean, he's literally laying it down, going, "You are not going to be here forever," and she doesn't know how to look after herself.
Yeah.
So she needs to go out into the real world and learn how to live in it.
Because if she doesn't, the real world's going to hit real hard soon.
And that's when the grandmother's like, "I know what you're saying. And yes, okay, I didn't want her to leave the house, but she has been going out recently. She thinks she's sneaking out, but I know that she's going out and I don't mind." And she mentions about how the way Josie's demeanour is starting to change.
Well, she's happier. Not as closed off from the world.
Yeah. And then we see them at the library. And I think he forces her to interact.
Socialise, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because he goes, she's like, "I want these books, go and get them for me." And he's like, no, you need a library card and go and get one. And do it on your own. And that's when she makes friends with the librarian.
My favourite.
I think her
You
name is
like,
Connor.
you like the library.
I thought she was really warm. She came across
Yes.
as kind. The voice acting was really good.
The two
character was
friends,
very energetic, which I loved.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved.
Her
she
and
was so
Hayato were fucking
she's
phenomenal.
so encouraging to what she wants, even though she doesn't know her.
Yep.
It's,
She was
it's just a
calming
really
as
nice,
well.
really nice character.
And that's when the bomb sort of drops as they're leaving the library that she's 24 years old. And he's like, "What? You're 24 years? I thought you were younger
And that
than me."
was her first friend,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is strange, isn't it? Right?
which was nice
Yeah, no.
because she didn't know to even wave
They
back.
bond over books.
Yeah, an author.
He eventually brings her to the diving. She actually asked to go and see where he works, so he takes her to the diving shop, and that's when, firstly she's hit on by Hayato, who's like, "You're really beautiful," and then she meets Mai. Mai starts talking to Suneo about just about diving.
This is the first instance of any sort of personality from Mai at all.
Yes, it is.
She just starts.
And
Well,
it's
she's just
still not
talking
even
about him,
a
isn't she?
lot.
No. I
Yeah,
guess
all
not.
you get is, "I like him,"
But
and he talks about you.
I will say this: the drive about Mai is that she will not let on that she likes him to him because she doesn't want to interfere with his dreams.
Yes.
So she stands fully back and goes, "I do love him, but I'm not getting in his way."
And the way that they showed that, though, was piss poor and probably on purpose. Again, so we don't ship these two characters.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because at some points, I sit there and I go, "Fuck, I hate the main character. I hate this girl."
He
'cause
ju-
it's
yeah.
just
Well, this is when
I-
Josee gets pissed off and
didn't
she leaves.
and the tantrums, and I think a lot of that is because she doesn't have the social skills to deal with those
Yes.
situations.
She doesn't understand.
agree.
I don't think she understands
And
what she's
so,
feeling.
as a child would, the first reaction is
Run
anger,
away. Run
and
away.
run. Yeah.
yeah.
Flight,
And it's literally, it is in that order. It is, I'm angry, I'm leaving,
and that's what she does.
without any social skills to do anything.
Sees Mai and Suneo getting on.
It's not even that. They make a big deal of Mai being able to walk and purposefully put her in those denim shorts to show her long
Yeah.
legs. And I think there's jealousy from her,
Fair.
which causes a reaction. Because if she's interested in this guy and she's lacking something that this other girl has got,
Yeah, I get that.
even though it's unimportant to him,
Yep.
he doesn't really care.
Yeah, but she
From
doesn't
her
know him
point,
enough to
from
know
her
that.
point of view, that seems like something she can't compete with.
No, fair. Yeah.
Which is probably where the anger came from, and then the leaving.
Yeah, fair.
That isn't something I picked up on, and no, fair, that makes sense.
Because the camera angle was really low.
Yeah, no, that
it
makes
didn't
sense.
show you Mai. It showed you Mai's legs and then the shorts and just her walking over, and then she stood next to her, but every other character crouched to talk to her. Mai
She stood
didn't.
over her. Yeah.
Mai stood over her.
Ah, makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Well spotted, Grayson.
Yeah. It's almost like we do this for a hobby.
So, after she throws her tantrum, she sacks Suneo. tells him not to come back anymore. She doesn't want him, and she goes to her grandma and she's like, Suneo, I don't want him coming by anymore. Tell him he's done. It cuts to him meeting with his teacher again, and we
I
find
would have
out...
liked a conversation with a grandma around that with her.
Yeah,
I would have really...
She doesn't challenge it. She
Yeah.
just goes, okay.
But I would have liked her to just go, oh, any particular reason? Just even
Okay,
if it's
yeah.
casual and just her go like slamming the door. Just any reaction from the grandma would
Are we
have just
supposed to
been an
believe that Grandma
investment.
knows?
Maybe.
Grandma's like, they've
Yeah,
had a tiff.
I guess so, but even grandma just asking a question and then getting a door slammed in her face would
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
3 seconds of
'Cause then it
animation,
could've clicked for
and then
her.
it would have
Yeah.
just been more obvious for us as an audience to understand where grandma was coming from here.
Yeah, no,
Also-
At
I
her point of view.
You would think that Grandma would want to know, considering that's a carer.
And
for
she's
the
so
person-
protective of
Yeah.
her
Yeah, no,
that
fair,
she would
fair.
be interested, and it felt like she wasn't, like she
Yeah.
just there.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, all right, that's fine.
Yeah. So
Even though-
nonchalant about it.
But you wouldn't. You definitely
No,
wouldn't.
no,
Because
if
you'd be
my kid
I've
came to
seen,
me-
I've seen you grow with this person so well, and then you're like, get rid of them. I'd be like,
Yeah, but
why?
that's more a better indicator to say she knows.
Yeah, but that would be like
Because
why?
the only reason that she would say that is because she's had a bit of a tiff with him.
Yeah.
But you would still
And she
expect
doesn't
the
have the,
grandma.
But I
yeah,
would-
she doesn't have the social skills to,
If-
to negotiate her way through that tiff, and her reaction, as we've said,
Yeah.
is to just, I don't want to see
If
him anymore.
grandma is a parental figure here,
Yeah.
when my kid comes to me and he's got some problem, I talk him through it. So to give him the social skills to deal with that problem in the
Yeah.
future, grandma's completely ignored
She's
that
not-
level
she's
of
been
schooling
reliant
here.
on Suneo.
Yeah. And there just seems no investment from grandma to teach her how to deal with this situation and the emotion, and like an adult would,
Yeah, yeah.
and no schooling for her.
No, fair.
It felt a little short.
So we find out that Suneo is leaving in 6 months' time. That's when his scholarship to Mexico is going to come around. And it then cuts to Josee again, but we see her on her own. So we see her at the library hanging out with the librarian. We see her sort of trying to go out to the arts and crafts store on her
I
own,
love
things
this
like that.
because it shows growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
This shows a level of
Independence.
independence that she did not have before, and bravery
Yep.
that she just didn't have before.
And we see her get asked to read to the kiddies in the library a storybook, The Little Mermaid. The original Little Mermaid one.
The seafoam one.
And she goes to read it, but unfortunately, because of her lack of social skills, she's quite jagged at the way she reads this storybook. And we see that all the kiddies get bored and walk off.
Do you think we've had a lot of use of the Little Mermaid in recent stories?
Yeah,
and that?
this is
No, the only other one was Bubble,
Yeah,
literally.
I think there's been.
I know it feels like there's been a lot, but it hasn't.
Yeah,
It's just
I
Bubble.
think there might be another one, but I couldn't. It probably was
I
just
thought
some
there was another one
similarities
as
we
well.
drew on it, story-wise.
Oh, wasn't it the bloody Weathering with You?
No, there was no
Seafoam.
there was no Little Mermaid reference in Weathering with You.
It definitely feels like we've had more than one recently.
Yeah, it does.
Because I was like, it feels like I've heard this story
It's-
a lot.
That fish out of water, like basic story
Little
is
Mermaid, the
quite
original's a romance
common-
tragedy.
Yeah, well,
It is. She turns into seafoam at the end and dies.
I wouldn't say it's romance because she doesn't know him. It goes by looks, and he doesn't want her
Fair.
in the original.
Fair.
I think it's a lesson on lust versus romance.
One of the kiddies stays behind, the one that originally asked her to read to him, and she asks about the Mermaid Castle. And Josie's like, "I'll draw the Mermaid Castle. Like, this is what I picture it to be in my head."
How did she
And
reach
it's-
the top of the
and-
whiteboard?
and-
Yeah, I asked the question as well. I was sitting there
How
like,
did she reach the top of the whiteboard?
Magic.
extendo.
A wheelchair is really a cherry picker.
Nice.
Get that bitch to tower over me now.
She's got the Wild Wild West one.
I was literally thinking the same thing. A spider wheelchair.
Suneo turns up at
Loveless.
Josie's house, and at first she's like, "What are you doing here? You've been fired." And he's like, "Look, I've got this for you." And he's made her like this fish light. Very pretty.
It is, and I like the little man that he got to teach him to do it. That
The owner
little
of the
tiny
smoke shop.
scene was just can you teach me? And you're like, I know what you do.
Yeah. And this is when he tells Josee about his dream. The lamp is actually a specific breed of fish, but it's only found in Mexico, and they live in schools, and he wants to see them. And he talks about the flashback of when they had one in the aquarium in Osaka, and it was the only one, and he used to go and just watch it. It was his favourite fish.
Does he want to be a marine biologist?
This is the path I would assume that he would be going down because of his knowledge of fish. The scene is set for this because he's doing all this talking about his dream. The lights are low; they're under the glow of the lamp, and it's all very romantic. And then the light goes out, and they jiggle with it a bit, and suddenly, when it comes back on, they're very close, face to face.
And she does what every Londoner would do.
There's a little, there is a moment, and then Josee panics because of the situation she's in, and throws a Glasgow kiss his way.
There you go. That's a headbutt for our American audience.
And they leave, don't they? They go out for the day.
It so came out of nowhere, that head.
It really did, didn't it?
And we see that Grandma, when she sees them together, that's when Josee turns around and Grandma's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "It's not that scary outside anymore." And the Grandma's like shocked. The door shuts and she turns around and she's super happy.
And she laughs, doesn't she?
And she laughs. They go to the zoo. And it's at the zoo where Josee tells him about her fear of tigers. And
we finally meet
the tiger
bit.
Yeah, and he says, like, then why are you here? Why are you standing in front of it? And she's like, because when I'm with you, I feel like I can depend on you. And when I'm frightened, I know you're there to reach out to.
Did we realise this was the point where she was using him as like a crutch? Pretty much, wasn't she?
She says it. She literally says it. When I'm frightened, I know all I've got to do is reach out to you.
I think he realised at that point. I think he realised at that point. Oh shit! When I go,
yeah,
like what's going to happen then?
And she tells him that she's made up her mind. She's going to draw and make art as her job. And he doesn't tell her that he's leaving soon, because she mentions about coming back to a certain area to see the cherry blossoms again, and he knows that he won't be there for it, but he doesn't say it. Then suddenly everything just spirals, because all of a sudden there's a funeral, and her grandmother's died. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It really did.
It really did come out of nowhere.
Storytelling, though, this is the logical progression of her independence growth.
The only thing I
wanted
from this moment was a prior indication that grandmother wasn't well.
Like an Arthur Morgan warning.
Just something.
That coughing fit that he gets every now and then.
Just a hint that grandma wasn't doing okay.
Do you not think this is better, though?
No.
Because
isn't it more? No, because it's so out there that it doesn't.
Let me pitch something to you. Let me pitch something to you.
Isn't it more realistic of life though? It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, kind of, but sometimes it doesn't. So
no, because then those characters go, "Well, she wasn't doing very well. Her heart wasn't that strong."
I thought they said that she was
I'm going to pitch you a bit of this story.
They say her heart wasn't doing too good, and it's like,
what if Grandma talked to him about her not being well, which puts more pressure on him to stay?
Yeah, that would have been good.
The grandmother character was one of the only things I picked up on as being not quite complete.
Yeah.
In her arc, her story, and her mannerisms.
She gets a lot of screen time, and there's just... Yeah, but even in those few scenes...
No, I mean, it's in, like, she needed 3 scenes to, like, solidify and round off her character.
Yeah, absolutely. Her trying to develop Josee's social skills, but Josee not really buying into it would have been great. And then the indication that Grandma's not well, be it a comment or just, like, a scene where she's, like, coughing or she's collapsed... Or she shuts the door while Josie's in another room and she's just like, well, looks ill.
He could have come over to see her not be there. She found her.
He finds grandmother on the door.
Goes to the hospital where I'm like, don't tell Josee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which puts it puts the pressure on him to stay.
Yes.
Which ultimately he does, and it costs him until she's like, you need to fuck off. But I think it would have just rounded off that grandma character quite nicely.
Even easier. Even easier. They're there at home, having a conversation, making lunch or something, and then all of a sudden, as she's cutting stuff, she drops it. And she drops the knife, and then she's like, just holding on to the side.
See,
And
look,
she's
like a
"Oh,
dizzy spell.
get my medicine.
Well,
Get my
yeah.
medicine." And opens up the cabinet, and there's like 7 or 8 bottles of different medicines.
that would have worked because that would have gone nicely as a contrast to the strong grandma you saw earlier on,
Yes.
grabbing him by
Being
the
a-
dick and
being
being
a facade,
a
yeah.
threat and a thug kind of grandma. To actually, she's not.
And then he has the realization, shit, she's not well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
And now I
then-
have to help Josee.
And like, as she's had her medicine and that, she could just have a throwaway line to him that is just like, "I'm glad you're here to look after Josee," or something like that.
put pressure on him
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be pressuring him. It wouldn't be saying to him,
It wouldn't have been on purpose.
Yeah,
it would have been his deduction of that, and the way that he felt about Josee would have made him
But
make a sacrifice.
what we're
Yeah.
doing here is we're writing in that pressure early. But what they've done is they have introduced the pressure that we're talking about, but they've done it in the way of we kill Grandma and now he feels pressured to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
They've
there's
done
no
it, but they
reason-
haven't done it. We've done it. I will say it. We've done it better with our little.
That's because there's a
change.
gradient of that pressure rather than it bang bang.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it goes from
Because ours would
nothing
have
to
mounted. Ours would have been
everything.
like, there's pressure there, then she dies.
Yeah.
Fuck, that got worse.
Yeah.
You know, and that would have been a gradual pressure on him.
Yeah. Or even him like talk to grandma and been like, yeah, I've got maybe 5 years or so. I'm trying to make her ready.
The way we
You're
did
helping,
it was,
thanks.
the
And
way
it's like,
we-
well, cool. I'm going to study abroad for 3 years. I'll be back, and then I can do that. But if she dies,
But then
that
we'll
plan
be-
goes out the window,
Yeah.
which piles up his pressure.
Well,
again.
it does affect him because obviously we see her turn around to him and go, I can't afford to pay you anymore to look after me. I don't have that funds anymore. Grandma, she left me enough to get by for a while, but that's it. And then it cuts to him and he's diving that shipwreck. And he's not there. He's not in that moment. He's thinking
Distracted.
about Josee and her problems. And he gets that distracted that his oxygen gauge runs out. And he has to go to Hayato, who supplies him and obviously gets him to the surface. We see the social workers turn up at Josee's house. This was inevitable for her. And she tells them about her ambition to be an artist and this, that, and the other. And the guy, once again, she gets a massive reality check from this social worker who's just like, your dream's foolish. You need a stable job. You need to work in an office. You need to be independent. And this is when Mai kicks in. She sees that Suneo is worrying so much about Josee. We didn't see it coming from Mai, right? This moment when she approaches Josee, I thought she was just gonna. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect from Mai in this moment. Her and Hayato go and meet Josee, and this is when Mai turns around and is like, "I'm asking you not to hold him back."
I expected that from her because that's all her character is for.
This
This moment,
story progression.
This
is
moment
this
and the door
moment.
moment.
That
Yeah.
is it, really.
But I still didn't see it. I didn't see her being that blunt to Josee.
No, I didn't either.
And she tells Josee that he's leaving. And Josee gets pissed off and turns around and goes, I'm just angry that it's come from you and not him that I found this out. And as she goes to leave, that's when Mai goes, he just feels sorry for you, right? He just works for you now out of sympathy. I mean, fucking
Yeah, way to twist a knife, you cunt.
fucking how savage. Brilliant. Don't get me wrong. For the story
But
and everything, what a way to make you
completely
hate Mai.
Wrong.
Completely
So
wrong,
bad.
Her take is it's not it.
It's a
not.
one-sided
It's
take.
not the one.
Ugh.
She's so far wrong
Yeah.
because she has no idea. I mean, even the guy that they're with.
She's trying to drive a wedge between the two of them.
Yeah,
That's
but
what she's
the
doing.
guy that's there as well, the one that he works with,
Hayato.
even him
He goes,
earlier when
"Don't listen
Josie's
to
in
her."
the shop is literally like, all he does is talk about you. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
But he says to
because-
Mai, doesn't he? He's like, he shouts to Josee and he's like, she doesn't mean that.
Yeah,
And he turns around to Mai and he's like, what the hell are you doing? Suneo turns up at Josie's house and he enters her bedroom and this is when he sees that she has taken down everything. All the ocean stuff's gone. All the paintings she's torn down. She's cut all her hair off to have the same haircut as her grandmother. She's basically tried to adult up and take away all those stupid dreams and childish things. And then she's trying to do the stereo, isn't she? And she can't quite get it to work. And he's like, look, let me do this for you. And she says to him, can we go to the ocean again? This will be your last ever job for me. And they get to the ocean, and that's when Josee, who is very distraught at this moment, she talks about her dreams being out of reach for her. The fact that, she's never going to get that running up a shrine, running up the stairs to a shrine. She's not going to get to walk through the rain under an umbrella. It's like her spiral back into despair again and bringing in the fact that she is in this wheelchair. Like, even though it has no actual reference to anything,
it's got no bearing. It
doesn't affect her dream at all.
No, it's got no bearing to what she wants to do. And
this is just pure hatred,
self-hatred.
I thought it was a mental block.
It's self-hatred.
I think it's where she defeats herself.
Yeah.
Rather than having it come from
we see
anyone
it later.
outside, because no one else, as far as we can tell from the story, from the beginning, at least, there's a cut-off point where we see people ignoring her and bumping into her and everything. That stops.
It does.
And that's what defeated her before, but now she's just doing it to herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's taken herself to such a bad place now that she's forgetting that her dream isn't out of reach, and she's focusing on all these things she can't do that she never thought about in the first place.
But we see that from the other side later as well. We see himself.
Yeah.
He does that as well.
She has this argument with him. She turns, she leaves. She's got this new electric wheelchair as well. That is relevant because this whole independent thing, she's obviously upgraded. Massive downpour. She's going to cross the road and her chair wheel gets stuck in a pothole on the crossing. And Suneo runs out to help her, but the cars have already started. Fucking what are they doing, by the way, these motorists? The cars are already moving, and suddenly Suneo gets hit by a car. And I mean, he gets hit by a car.
I thought he was going to die.
Heck of a donk.
Seriously, the way that he got hit, that's a...
Really well put together moments.
Animated.
This is the accident, the operation, the way it's all filmed and done is...
The fact that he runs out because he thinks she's going to get hit by a car and then it's just a bike that goes straight past and has no bearing, and then he turns to the right. Oh, shit, there's a car.
Yeah.
But by the way, these motorists, by the way,
dicks, isn't
fucking,
they?
the
person in a wheelchair on
Audi
a crossing.
drivers.
Now I'm gonna go
Absolute
70 mile an hour.
Absolute Audi drivers.
I was about to say the Spirited Away driver's back, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's in Osaka now, isn't he?
Suneo finally wakes up. The first thing he says when he wakes up is he asks how Josee is. He's like, "Is she okay?" And they obviously say, "Yeah, she's absolutely fine." And then we find out that he's broke his left leg so badly that they've had to fix a plate in it. He got a concussion, a mild concussion. It's going to take him 2 months to recover from his leg injury. But the way it was broke now makes him high risk for osteoarthritis.
Oh, like me.
Got it already.
He's also got a left arm fracture, so he can't use crutches. So he's going to have to be in a wheelchair. Really relevant because in their argument prior to that, Josee turned around to him and said, "You don't know how I feel."
Now this, I spoke to you about, and I said, this is the only time, as soon as I heard that phrase be used, I was like, he's going to end up in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I could see it coming from a mile away when she was like, you don't know what it's like. I was like, yeah, this is going to happen to him.
Well, he's about to learn.
Yeah.
We see Josee really down about everything. We see the professor come to visit him and say, look, because of your injuries, I think it's best that we give your place to somebody else. You just focus on your recovery. And so he loses his place to go to Mexico.
I was like, what the fuck with that? I was like, seriously?
Because they have to send somebody.
I thought the scholarship would have meant more than that since they chose a candidate, and it's
Yeah.
You would have thought they would have just gone, just get to us when you can.
Yeah.
Apparently not. Suneo receiving all this news, I mean, it breaks him. And we see his friends turn up. And Mai turns up a lot to help him. And then she turns up one day and takes him out for a walk. And that's when she confesses. And she says that she's in love with him and has been for a long time, but chose not to say anything because she didn't want to hold him back. And he goes to say something to her. And she's like, you don't need to say anything because I know you don't feel the same. And his mate Hayato is standing in the background, and he's listening to this all take place. He's a fantastic character. I said it a few times.
Good.
Hayato is brilliant because he's
good.
so fucking.
He is genuinely. He comes across as an asshole, but he is a good mate.
He's just a good guy.
Yeah,
he really is.
Like they try and normalize him with the way that he talks to women and hits on them and everything. Like he overshoots his.
He's
confidence.
just a lad, but actually he's
But
just got
he's
his
a
head
lad.
screwed on.
He's a lad where his heart is in the right place.
Yeah. This is the second moment for Mai, when she storms to Josee's house, and she's like, well, don't worry about Sunio anymore anyway, because I'm going to stop him from his dream. I'm going to stop him from going to Mexico. I'm going to keep him to myself. And she goes on about how well she knows him more than Josee does, and she's saying this is what he loves, this is what he likes to eat, this is his favourite colour, blah, 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 blah. And she goes on and on about how well she knows Sunio. Josee throws open the door and tells her off. And she says, you might know all these things about him, but I can tell you right now that nobody cares about him more than me. And she says, well, if that's the case, then why don't you show him? And she storms off.
Yeah. That was so well placed, because
this Mai is, like we said, a very meh character, but this one moment for her was the best thing she could have done. Force Josee to actually act.
But even then, it doesn't work, because if Mai wants her, why would she purposefully put competition in? Why wouldn't she just...
Because she just wants them to be Suneo to be happy, and that's her way of going, well,
I think we realised that from the previous
it's just
conversation.
It's such an odd way to go about it. Her purpose is clear, but the character falls short so much.
So Josee acts on these words, and she goes to the library, and she asks the librarian for help with something, and we see her working and painting and doing something. Cut to Hayato turning up the hospital, and he's signed Suneo out for the day. Really good moment again when Suneo's like, I'm not coming out, leave me alone. And he's like, I saved your life, man. You owe me. Now get your coat on, we're going.
Do you know what? That right there was a great moment.
Absolutely fantastic move by him.
Yeah.
He was like,
again, it's Hayato, man. He takes him to the library where we see Josee waiting with the old kiddies in front of her again, and she's got the book that she's made and that she's painted. And she reads it to him, and I'm not going to describe the book because I can't do it justice. This whole moment in this entire movie is the best moment, and
the book is a story so far that we've watched on the screen.
It is
with the Disney happy ending,
added on. But she's added that bit on the end of the one expression that stood out for me is the fact that you know just because your visual wings are broken, the wings in your heart, they're unbreakable. I love that. I love that expression, man. It's her way of kicking his ass and saying, "Don't give up."
Yeah.
And it hits home for Suneo, and we see him get determined, and we see him working hard in his physiotherapy to walk again. Gets to discharge day, and he asks Josee to meet him when he gets discharged, and she says she will, but she doesn't turn up. So he goes to her house, and she's not there, and everything's in moving boxes. He runs to the library. The librarian, she's got no idea where she is either. And so suddenly his friends, her friends, get together, and they go looking for her.
Can I just speak about this piece here? For me, this feels really out of place.
What?
Just this additional bit on top felt a little bit out of place for me.
I got why she didn't turn up.
It was sense. It's very. I can see how it's a Marmite bit.
It was very extra.
From a certain, if you're watching this from a certain point of view, this after the effort she's just gone through with the book and everything, and then she just fucks off.
Yeah,
that's a bit contradictory to what she's trying to accomplish.
But I also understand what she's trying to do by fucking
at the same time, I get it. I would have just something from Josee to say why, or or even Mia stepping in again and being like, "You're going to ruin his life."
My problem with this scene was that it was designed for the next scene. This was purely just a catapult to lead to the final scene that we get in the movie.
A quite literal catapult.
quite literal catapult to get to the final scene. What I would have liked was maybe something around the case of when they discharge, she goes, "Can we go to the zoo one more time?" And he goes there and he just sits there, and that scene happens, and then he's like, "I'll meet you at mine. I need to do something." And then she gets to the top of the hill and has that whole scene
But
happen
that
again.
would then take away her being at the zoo on her own.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that was that to show
The
that
independence.
she's not scared anymore.
Yeah.
And she doesn't need him there.
I
It just
agree
seems
with
like
you.
worry for worrying's sake as
I
well.
agree with you. There's probably a better way this could have been done.
Absolutely. But I get what they were doing.
Yeah, I get what they were trying
I
to do.
feel maybe, like I said, the addition of Mia stepping in again and putting her foot in her mouth
Yes.
when she gets there early and Mia's there, and Mia's like, "You're gonna fuck him
But
up."
they've tried to save Mia's character by
Yeah.
doing what they did. And
Don't
then
do
that.
that.
Dragging her down again.
Don't do that. Just been like, he's going to be happy, but he might not have been as happy as he could have been had he have done this. Had he have
I get what you mean.
he's torn between two dreams, and he's going to have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Why did
And
we
one of them isn't going to be. She could try to prove again that she knows him better and be like,
Why didn't we
I
have-
think he wants to go do this one more than stay
But
with
he's
you.
already made his mind
and
up
then
on
have
that,
her
hasn't he?
leave, and then when he comes out, he could just go, Mia, why'd you, like Mia could explain, and then why have you done that? I'm going to go find her.
Why
and then
did-
follow the tracks.
Or what? He rings her and says, "I can't find Josee," and she's like, "Good."
Yeah.
Why did we?
Why are
not
you worried
have-
anyway? She's only going to drag you down.
Yeah, go outside, follow the tracks from the hospital to the zoo, see the independent part, follow the tracks again, and carry on with the scene as it was. But I agree there is a better way to do this.
Why did we not get the tiger scene before she did the book?
I think
Because that would have been her confronting her thing.
the book was the first emotionally adult and vulnerable thing that she did.
Yeah.
It was the first sign that she put herself out
was.
there and there was no repercussions. She was allowed to, and what happened was positive.
Okay.
So
The
that
tiger's
gave her
the next step.
That gave her the strength to then go do something that was physically brave, not just emotionally brave.
It just feels like for me, they could have put that scene before the book because then she's confronting the tiger.
Yeah.
Her demons
I
and
think
her own.
I think they've done it this way around so that he's got somewhere to go to then follow her tracks.
Yeah.
Like I said, it just feels like it's one scene to get to the next scene.
Yeah,
In that-
I
in that
agree.
part.
There's a better way for it to be done. The way that they've done it makes sense, but there is a better way. There's
Yeah.
100% a better way. You are right.
So he follows her tracks, loses track of her. We see her then get bumped into, and it jams her wheelchair stick into
A control-y
go,
joystick thing.
and she hurtles down
The same bloody hill.
Apparently San Francisco.
the same.
Fucking hell.
She hurtles
How
down a
big is
hill
this
again
hill?
like she did before.
Anybody else's head good? Deja vu. I've been in this place before.
When she's flying through the air, the music is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's good.
It is
So, like that one song is brilliant.
It is good.
And she's caught by Suneo, like she was right at the very beginning.
And that's what I mean by this scene was the first scene was designed for the second scene. Right
Yeah.
there.
And he says to her that he's decided that he's gonna go to Mexico. He's gonna follow his dream, but he's also not gonna quit on her either.
I thought that was already like mostly said without being said.
Yeah, but from her, I guess from her emotionally stunted
Yeah, she
brain,
needed to
she
hear
probably wouldn't have understood that is something that just happens. Friends separate for a bit and then come back. She wouldn't have had that experience, would she? Because she hasn't had friends before.
No, because when people
Well,
leave, they normally
They
are
normally
gone.
leave.
He does
yeah,
then
her
confess his
parents.
love for her.
Yeah.
So it's more than friends.
Yeah, but any relationship,
Yeah.
she's not had one. Everyone's just left.
Yeah.
By
And they-
her just forcing them away or them dying and being taken away.
Yeah.
And then they kiss. And then credits roll. And we
Credits
see...
were brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that they put an entire scene in the credits
Yep.
Yep.
as photos, as a continuation of the story. That was the perfect way to do it because
Yep.
you're not taking up time
With the music
of
as well.
something
Yep.
that essentially is only an add-on if you want it.
It would have been that bit that we had like in Silent Voice where you're like, well, I'll draw my own conclusions.
Yeah.
When they were like, no, goes to Mexico.
Yeah.
We see Josee working on her art. We see him off at the airport. She tears down her old family house because she's moving
through
on.
photos, and I fucking love it.
We see Suneo in Mexico having fun. We see flashbacks of their time together and Josee in his arms in the sea. And then there's one little snippet right at the very end when it's all finished, and we see him come back.
In
she's
the cherry blossoms.
She's in the cherry blossoms, and she's like, "Why? What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well, I've come back for spring break." And she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he says, "Because I wanted to surprise you."
The only way this could have got only a little bit better is if the pictures in the credits were photos that they'd sent each other.
Yeah.
Well, we
I
do
would have
see
loved
them
that.
communicating as well in the photos.
I would have just preferred that the photos were them two sending each other that bits of their lives, what's going on.
They needed one of those photos, one of those pictures is him scuba diving with the fucking fish that he's been looking for.
Yeah,
They missed the fucking trick there, and it really pissed me off that I didn't get that moment of him actually seeing it and then maybe like sending her a photo of him with them or something. I really wanted that.
Hear me out. Have it the way it was. And then when he gets back, he shows her the photo in person.
Yeah,
like, I'm being like,
he's like, I found them.
I'm being like, well, one of my dreams has come true. Let's work on the other one.
Yeah.
And leave it.
Oh, fuck off. That's such a good line right there.
It would have just been really nice. Because, yeah, you're right. The fish was missing. He banged on about him so much, made a model of him, and it's just like, well, where's the fish?
Yeah, I wanted the fish. Anyway, that's the end of Josee the Tiger and the Fish. Final thoughts? Anything you want to throw out there? Or you can just lead it into your rating.
I will lead it into rating.
Yeah, lead it into it.
So,
I've not got much.
Yeah, I haven't got much either. There's a few little changes. We talked about them.
This is it, isn't it? At the end of the film, I sat there and I was like, right, now let's think about all the things I want different or any problems I had with it. And I sat there for ages and I was like, fuck. And the things I found myself going back to, I was like, they're such minor things.
They are minor.
So minor.
It was tweaks, not fixes, in this case, I think.
Couple of continuity changes for me.
Yeah.
Couple of additional snippet scenes of
The grandmother.
conversations.
The grandmother I wanted a bit more from.
If that could have been changed slightly to have better impact with the whole death and everything, yeah, that would have made it a hell of a lot better. And the fish thing really pissed me off. I'm not going to lie, that really pissed me off.
One thing that I did want would have been, I wanted Josee to have someone that was maybe a therapist in her life that she stopped seeing and leaned on him just for Grandma's sake, really, because I want Grandma to be a bit better than what she was in the movie.
She was the only flaw, which is nasty to say because I liked her character.
I liked her character.
But I found her the flaw.
I wish that she cared a bit more about Josee because it really didn't come across that she did. Even when she let her sneak out, there was no kind of explanation.
It could have been cheekier and a bit more funner.
And I would have just liked Grandma to have shown a little more due diligence about looking after this young woman.
That makes sense.
That's kind of my only biggest thing that I would add.
Yeah.
Mia was fine. I don't want to change her because I don't want to like her.
And
And I didn't like her, which was fine. But any changes I would make to her would probably make her more likable and more...
And that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have worked because we would have
literally
had this dual love interest, and it's not about that.
And we've had that before.
Yeah.
Where we've sat there and gone, you could choose both. But that's the...
We've had it where the side characters we've gone, they sit in the background and they do what they need to do, and that's great.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what these... Especially Hayato, especially the librarian.
Hayato's the same type of character as Maya. But he's a hype man, but he's done so well that he's just doing the same job that she does, but his is just from a better angle. Yeah. So he comes across as better.
Brilliant.
And it just looks like they would put a little bit more effort into the voice acting for him, the writing for him. But like I said, if you change her, you're fucking up the movie.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
You're really adding something that is more of a complication than a fix.
I just thought of another scene that I would have liked to have seen in this movie. We had a lot of conversations about, like, he works 2 jobs, he works 3 jobs, and now he's taking on this extra...
He's got the 2, isn't he?
Yeah, but no, they say, like, he's got the scuba diving. He said they've got, like, 2-3 jobs he's got.
He just does the scuba diving.
He had to. He quit one.
Yeah.
So it was just the scuba diving, and then he went and worked with Josee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had the 2.
For the extra cash.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they had more.
No.
But it would have been
There
nice.
are 3 jobs in total.
Don't forget, he is at college still as well. He's studying.
Yeah.
So
that's
he can't
what I mean.
have like 3 jobs and college.
I would have liked a scene where he has these 3 jobs, and then he gets rid of one to concentrate on Josee more.
Yeah, I mean, they do that, but they do it the other way around.
They do
He
it the
gets
other way
rid
around.
of
where it's
one.
like, I don't need to work with
Yeah.
Josee because I think I can make enough money anyway. And then he
Yeah.
gets hit with that whole, oh, she loves the ocean. Shit. I
Yeah.
didn't know that side of her.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
like I
that
said,
mutual.
My
you know.
thing is continuity. Couple of things. I felt like the ending was too extended. It was just extended out.
I think it feels like that, and you are right. It feels like that because of the way that they did it. I
Yeah.
think like there could have been a better way from the releasing the hospital to that final scene.
Well, the release
There
from the
was
hospital.
a better way to do that
Yeah.
than what happened. It made it feel a bit long and a bit.
Yeah,
But for a film that was only an
Lackluster.
hour and a half long, I think
Yeah,
they did a
I
fucking
just
exceptional
they
job
did.
with the
I would
story.
just that time slot. I don't want any more time from it. I would have
Yeah.
just liked a better way of doing it.
yeah.
Because an hour and a half. If this
what they
movie
got
was
in
longer,
an hour and a half.
this movie was longer. Like if they tacked on him in Mexico and everything else as part of the movie, would have just been a bit too long.
Yep. And I'm glad they did.
Overstayed its welcome a little
Absolutely.
bit. The way that they showed the extended continuation of the story was perfect.
The time jumps were spot on.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well, and the time they spent together was enough for you to understand how they were progressing.
Yeah,
For once, actually, the cutscenes of
The
where we
montage.
actually, the montage was well done,
made sense.
and
yeah.
it made sense.
Yeah,
Instead
all
of a
it did
montage
was show
that-
you.
Her being more independent with him.
But even that, they did it so slyly that it flew under the radar until it became apparent a bit later on. You're like, oh no, wait, no, she's been learning this,
Yes.
but kind of by accident.
Anyway,
It-
apart from that,
It was nice. Yeah,
I'm up
hit
for
us with a
ratings.
rating.
8.9. I'm not up to a 9 with it.
I'm going to go with a flat 8
Okay,
on this.
And I'm going to go in with a 9.5.
fair.
I did like this movie.
Yeah, I liked it, but it's not my top movie.
No.
So Josee, the Tiger and the Fish gets a Summoning Boys 8.8 out of 10.
It's good.
Yeah, well earned from a great studio.
And on that note, it's time for us to chuff off. Join us next time where we do episode 1 to 6 of Digimon. Yeah.
Digital monsters.
If you've got any questions or queries, or just
Change into
you can find us on
digital
Instagram,
champion.
Twitter, and Facebook
Change
at How Not to Summon or Not
digital
Stopping.
world.
Or join us on Discord at How Not to Summon a Podcast, or go to our website at hownotosummon.com where you can find all our links. I've been Shinny Senpai.
I've been Jim.
I've been Grace and you sounded confused.
I think I'm Jim. Am I the Jim? I might be the Jim.
I might be the Jim.
See you later, guys.
See ya.
Ta-ra.